All right, Vineyard City residents, Jake Holdaway, City Council member, wanted to make a quick video with David Lauret, a citizen of Vineyard that organized a committee of citizens to go out and study a change of form of government for Vineyard. And we wanted to walk you through the details as to why and how we got there. But before we do, why are we even having this conversation to go through and do that? Obviously, we kind of think from our side of the aisle that that there's been some issues within Vineyard that didn't have a two-form government or two separate systems. And Marty wanted to look at, or Councilmember Cifuentes wanted to look at a change of government. Now, and is currently proposing that. To give you an idea, there are 5 forms of government that a city could go to. And in studying this out, Councilwoman Cameron and I formed a very large citizen committee and group to go through and look at those 5 members of 5 different forms of government. And in researching those, this entire committee contacted many different cities, almost all of them within the county. We reached out to the county clerk and Brian Vokes and educating ourselves on all those various things of the cost or whatever. Now, to help the citizens understand this decision, right now we're having 2 sessions to study this out. We already had one, so we would have one more to study it out. After that, the council will then vote. If not, we would be putting on this before the citizens on the November election. If we choose to do so and put it on the election, it'll cost the city on just south, we think it's $17,000 just to have an election. And then in addition to that, it will cost thousands of dollars for our attorney to draft up all of the ordinance changes of if we change from a 5-member where we're at. Now, we are in a 5-member form of government, and we had to vote to study out 2 different types of government. And there's others, but we're only going to focus in on 2. Councilmember Cifuentes is leaning and put forth and had the votes with the mayor and Amber to put forth the 6-member council government. I and Councilwoman Sarah Cameron voted against not pushing the mayor council form of government. And so what are the differences between the 2? And should we or should we not is the topic of the discussion, is to help you there. So with that, we brought in Dr. David Lauret to kind of walk through what we found out with the commission.
So first of all, the form of government we're on right now is what we call a 5-member council, and that consists of 1 mayor and 4 councilors to make 5 members. And so sometimes, well, we've had some confusion in some of the meetings because our city attorney has told us, well, 6-member, you still have 5 councilors, which is true. You have 5 city councilors and 1 mayor to make 6 members on the council. So a 6-member form includes 5 city councilors and 1 mayor, all elected. But the mayor is still the chair of the council. So right now, one of the problems we're having is that the mayor controls the agenda for our city council, and she controls also the meeting, the way she runs it. And so she controls what we can talk about and who gets to talk about it, how long, and so forth. That's what's happening now. That would not change under a 6-member council form. It would just have 1 more city councilor to add to the mix that we already have. And so we would just have that much more discussion with 1 more person to talk about it and so forth. But it wouldn't change any of the powers that the mayor has, and it wouldn't change the way the meetings are going because the same person's doing it all. So that's the city with the mayor council form. Right. It does change it because what happens there is the mayor then we separate our government. We have a totally separate executive and a totally separate legislative part of our government. Right now they're combining in the city council. And in the 5- and 6-member councils combine those 2 functions. A mayor council would separate those, so the mayor would no longer be a member of the city council. Right. And rather, the city council would elect their own chairperson, and that person then would take over the responsibility of the agenda and running the meetings. And so we would have basically the city council taking care of their issues, and together, and the mayor, when she had an issue she wanted to bring to the city council, she would then bring that to the new city council chair. And that person then would add it to the agenda. Right now, instead of around, if the city council wants to have bring an issue to the city council, they have to go to the mayor and ask her.
They have to request, pretty please, even though we're the legislative body, will you please listen to what we want? And in many cases, it's been very difficult to even get anything on the
That's
agenda.
right. So the biggest gain from changing the form of government that I see would be changing the way council meetings run and the way the city council is administered.
Correct.
And by going to a mayor council form, it does that.
Well, and-
There's lots of other benefits too.
Well, and I want to pause and kind of help people understand, like, right now, the mayor is over drafting the budget and spending the budget, and she's also over the agenda of the meeting of what can be talked about. And so, and the other thing I want to be very clear about is it doesn't matter which form, if we are to change one, if we go to 6, the cost of government is going to go up because we're going to be adding another council member. And then we're also changing all of our ordinances to reflect that. So both are gonna increase a cost. If we change the city manager, mayor council form of government, costs are gonna go up. So both of them were gonna go up. But with the 6-member form, we don't get the division of 2 parties. And one of the things, looking historically as to the problems of the last couple years, in our opinion, whether it be LRS and the loan, it's, well, we don't have any documentation of the council seeing this or approving this letter because they're both bodies. That problem wouldn't be fixed in a 6-member form because she's still over the agenda and she's still part of the executive and legislative branch. And so even World Trade Center Utah, where Marty says, hey, I didn't know about this in the paper. Again, there's no separation in that 6-member form of government. And so how would World Trade Center Utah, in a council mayor form of government, though it does increase another staff member, just like the 5. And the other thing is when we studied this out, there is no formal research papers that have what costs how much. Every city in America is different. How much we pay our council members, how much we pay our attorney to do. I mean, these are all subjective costs. And so one thing we know is both forms would, one side is going to say, oh, the 6-member form is going to be less expensive than the mayor council. You don't know that until you get in and the council actually approves what that position is.
Well, and that's right. And frankly, the functions that the city council would need to take on separately than the city staff that is now would be split off from what's being done now. So you would actually divide the costs. And so, yes, it will cost a little more, but it's not going to cost tons more. So that's one thing. It's not going to be hugely more expensive.
Correct.
And the second thing we hear these arguments about how, well, all these other cities are in a 6-member council and we should do, because they're doing it. I have never liked the lemming argument. I don't think we should jump off the cliff just because everyone else is jumping off that cliff.
Well, and the other thing is, in closing, is that we're different. We have a $300 million RDA. We are going to be growing a city faster than we ever did. And I think one thing that is true about our attorney, where he said, well, the mayor council form of government will create gridlock, or it will create things difficult to pass unless everybody's on the same page. And at which point we say, absolutely, that's why we studied it out. That's why we wanted it. We ran on and we're saying that there needed to be more than one person, and adding just a council member and allowing the mayor to still be the head of the body, to be in the budget and to spend it. All we are is adding another person. And so for the finances of putting it onto the ballot and adding all of this staff, we're not really getting much more than just, yes, you're adding representation. You're having 6 people. So they're representing a smaller group. That's kind of nice. But if we were needing another council member because our assignments were so much, I would have an assignment. I don't have any assignments in our city because our mayor doesn't give me any assignments. So the argument that we need another person to do jobs, that's just not true.
Yeah,
So,
it's true, and in fact, one of the advantages of the 5 and 6 member council is it allows the mayor to delegate some of her responsibilities to the council members. And that's something that's not happened. That's all been pulled back into one person, and the mayor controls all of that. And so that's another problem. One other argument we've heard is that, well, you know, with the 6 member council, we'd be able to have 2 council members meet with the mayor and that would no longer break the, the sunshine law. We wouldn't have a majority there. So we would have a quorum, so they would, so you'd be able to do that. Right now, we can't. We only have one person, one counselor and the mayor, or 1 or 2 councilors meet before we violate that law. However, if the same would be true, if we went to the mayor council forum, we still could have 2 counselors and a mayor meet together.
correct, right.
That would be allowed under that form. So we get that same benefit from either of those forms. So so it seems to me that the better choice would be to get more bang for our buck by going to a mayor council form, which would allow for more discussion in our meetings, would allow more viewpoints to be shared and discussed openly. Right now, our discussions are limited because only one viewpoint is really wants, they only want one viewpoint expressed. So it'd be nice to be able to have more than one viewpoint expressed and do so in an orderly fashion and in a way that would allow the public to participate and to be able to give feedback to the city council and be able to indicate the things that they think are viable and appropriate and right, as opposed to just relying upon just that one elected mayor to make all the decisions for us.
And in closing, I just want to say, we brought a very large a citizen group together to study the 5. We zeroed in on 2. I want to thank David Lauret for sitting down with the county clerk and going through his recommendations, also saying that, gridlock in the issues and problems that have been faced, I would recommend a mayor council form of government. And also speaking with the other cities around the valley, it was amazing how many people said, for your particular issues, I would limit the power and the authority of the mayor and get as much authority back into the council and do a larger body. And so for that reason, the Politico group submitted and talked to us about doing it. Now, having said that, this is going to increase costs. And so if we're going to put it on the ballot, it's going to be 20 grand, and then there's a position, and this wouldn't even be put into place. We would vote on it this election, and it wouldn't be done until the following election a year later. And so it's not going to affect the current mayor or the current council. And for that purpose, if we didn't see it even making it, separating the power and reducing the authority of the mayor, we just didn't see the value. So anyway, David, I'll have you have the last word and we'll end it up, and hopefully this is helpful.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you to all the people that helped with this. There were so many that did it, and I'm grateful to Cornelius's Prices and others that really helped research all this. But really, the fact is that the best bang for our buck is going to be the complete separation of powers in the mayor council form. It's the one that gives us the most of the benefits that our founding fathers laid out in our Constitution. It incorporates those into our city government. Right now, they're not there. It'd be nice to have them.
And we also had others, Marcus Jessup and a few others that came in and said, hey, mayor council form of government, let's reduce it, the mayor's authority. So anyway, with that, thanks guys. And if you have any questions, David Lauret is the point man on this that's been serving. And we want to thank the citizen group that came together and did that. Thanks guys.